This is the Adidas Adizero SL2, a daily trainer that has seen some major improvements over its predecessor, the SL1. I've heard a lot of great things about this shoe, and so I figured I'd try it for myself and see if it actually lives up to the hype. But first, a quick disclaimer, I did buy this shoe with my own money. Adidas did not send me the shoe for review or to try out. Adidas definitely doesn't even know who I am and will probably never watch this video anyways. So the opinions in this video are mine and mine alone. No one will get to review this video prior to its release. So with that out of the way, let's get into the review of the SL2. All right, so like I said at the beginning of the video, the SL2 is a daily trainer that fits within Adidas's Adizero lineup. And in today's review, I'm gonna go over the tech specs of the shoe, so the upper, midsole, and outsole, as well as what it feels like to run in the shoe, who I believe this running shoe might be for, who I believe it might not be for, and then last but not least, would I recommend this running shoe for your running shoe rotation? All right, so let's get into the tech specs of the SL2. I purchased the SL2 in a US men's 10.5. This shoe fits true to size. It weighed 257.5 grams when I initially bought the shoe. And now into the actual tech specs of the shoe, we'll start with the upper. Adidas says that the upper is an engineered mesh upper. Like I said, it fits true to size. It is quite snug throughout the entire forefoot and midfoot, but I had no issues in terms of sizing when it comes to the fit of this shoe. The lacing system is nothing too crazy. I've had no real issues with the lacing of this shoe. Some of the Adidas shoes I've run in the past, I have had some issues trying to figure out how to get the laces right. But with the SL2, I've had no issues so far. In terms of the tongue has no gusset or anything holding it in, so it's just loosey-goosey within the shoe. It's quite thin. There is a little bit of material with the tongue. And then there's a padding that runs directly up the middle of the tongue where the Adizero text is right here. You can kind of see it on the back as well. That just helps with the lacing compression so that as you lace up the shoe, especially with it being a snugger fit, like I said, that you don't have any pressure points or like hot spots on the top of your foot when lacing up the shoe. Getting into the ankle collar and heel of the shoe, as you can see, there's not much of a heel counter or too much structure throughout the heel. There's no type of like plastic clip or anything for stability. You have a pull tab to pull the shoe up, and then the padding through the ankle and the heel. You have a pretty plush set of padding up on the outer part of the heel into the ankle. I've had absolutely no issues with this padding. It is a little robust for the padding, but it's not too bad. Like I said, in this daily trainer range, you want a little bit more plushness anyways for that comfort with the upper. And other than that, the upper is pretty minimal at best. It's extremely breathable. I've run in some pretty hot weather so far and had no issues with the upper in terms of breathability. And like I said, it's lightweight, it's snug, and it does what it's supposed to do. All right, now moving on to the midsole of the SL2, which is where we're gonna see the most improvement over the SL1. The midsole is a combination of Light Strike Pro foam, which now runs the entire length of the shoe. You can actually see the cutout right here where it says Light Strike Pro. And then if you actually look at the bottom of the shoe, there's 3 cutouts up here in the forefoot and then a cutout at the heel to show you that the Light Strike Pro runs through the entirety of the shoe. And then you have Light Strike, which as you can see, the Light Strike logo right there, as the carrier foam for the Light Strike Pro in this midsole. The midsole stack height is 36 millimeters in the heel with 27 millimeters in the forefoot. So a 9 millimeter heel to toe drop on the shoe. And honestly, this midsole feels great. I'll get more into it when I get into how it feels to run in the shoe. But so far I have no complaints with the midsole. It's lightweight, it's propulsive, it gives you nice energy return. And surprisingly for a Light Strike Pro, Light Strike combination, it's quite soft. All right, and the last part of the tech specs for the SL2 is the outsole of the shoe. It is in Adidas rubber. It is not Continental rubber like you see on some of the higher tiered Adizero shoes in the lineup, but it does not mean that the rubber is any worse or lesser than. Honestly, I've been using this now, like I said, I've taken it on, I believe I said 5 runs, but either way, I've used it on dirt, I've used it in rain, pavement, pretty much almost any scenario you can think of outside of running in the winter, and I've had absolutely no issues with this outsole. There is a ton of rubber coverage on the outsole of the shoe, as you can see through the forefoot, midfoot, even running through that lateral side of the midfoot down into the heel, and then on the medial side of the heel as well, you have a nice set of rubber coverage. The lug pattern on this is more of this like line pattern. And like I said, I've had absolutely no issues in terms of the stability and security that the outsole provides when running on all different types of surfaces and weather conditions. All right, so with the tech specs out of the way, let's get into how it actually feels to run in the Adizero SL2. So I've run in a few Adidas shoes in the past, specifically the Boston 10 and the Adeo 6. And on paper, the combination of Light Strike Pro with Light Strike Foam sounded great, but honestly, both of those shoes were quite miserable to run in. And it honestly made me really hesitant to try any Adidas shoe in the future, no matter how much Adidas promised that they had kind of fixed the problems with some of the firmness of the Light Strike and the Light Strike Pro combination. But honestly, like I said, I'd heard a lot of hype about the SL2 and figured at $130, I'll give it one more shot. Worst case, it's not good again, and I kind of just write off Adidas altogether. But fortunately, that is not the case with this midsole here. Like I said, the Light Strike Pro and Light Strike combination within this midsole feels extremely soft. At initial step in, it already felt great. And after run 5, which I did yesterday, which was 3 miles, it feels even better. So the foam is breaking in a little bit more, which is making it even softer and a little more responsive, if that makes sense. But honestly, the SL2 is an absolute joy to run in as a daily trainer. And like I said, I've already done 5 runs in the shoe, totaling 35 miles. So the first run I did in the SL2 was an 8-mile run with 8x100 meter strides thrown within that run. I was a little concerned about taking it for the stride specifically. Like I said, after initial step in, I wasn't too worried about the 8 miles. I knew the shoe would hold up pretty well because it felt great, but I was worried about the strides just because picking up the pace, you never know how daily trainers are really gonna handle that. Sometimes they just don't have that pick up and go that you need to really hit strides well. But either way, I took it out for the 8 miles. Like I said, the upper is extremely snug, similar to like a race shoe fit. So it is really kind of not tight, but it is really snug through that forefoot and midfoot. Like I said, I had no issues with the sizing on any of my runs so far. And if anything, after run 5, the uppers loosened just a little bit to where it's not as snug. It's still snug, but it's not as snug as it was on run 1. But like I said, I had no issues with sizing, no hot spots, no blistering. It's snug, like I said, more like a race fit. So just be aware of that if you're gonna purchase this shoe. But with that snug fit, this responsive midsole, and then the great outsole traction, I ended up having no issues at all in the 8-mile run, as well as doing the 100-meter strides. I was able to pick up the pace quite well in all of the strides. I never felt like the shoe was kind of becoming a hindrance at those faster paces. And even at the slower paces, the midsole and this entire just combination of what's going on with the shoe just felt amazing. So when you're running with this shoe, like I said, with that snug upper, it gives you a secure and tight lockdown. But then with this midsole, like I said, with the Light Strike Pro and even the Light Strike Carrier Foam, you can just tell that it is so much softer. The Light Strike, that actually is the Carrier Foam, feels lighter than it used to on the older models with the Light Strike Pro combination. The Light Strike Foam on this feels phenomenal. And then Adidas taking the Light Strike Pro from that puck that was in the SL1 to the full length of the midsole just made the shoe that much better in terms of the overall fit and feel, because this Light Strike Foam, as soft as it is, I don't think would give me the energy return and propulsion that I'm looking for in the daily trainer, or that I was at least expecting when you hear Light Strike Pro and think Light Strike Pro within a midsole. This is probably gonna be great. The Light Strike Foam, like I said, feels soft, but I don't think that EVA foam will give you that propulsion and energy return you're looking for. It's really because of that Light Strike Pro that's running through the midsole. And like I said, through all 8 miles, it was extremely comfortable. The next day, I took it on a 12-mile run, and this was again another one of those like not really sure how it's gonna feel once you get into double digits, because I've had some other daily trainers where they feel great, but then when you start to get into that higher mileage, it kind of turns more into a slog than like an enjoyable run. But again, the shoe was amazing. The miles ticked off easily. It's extremely lightweight. And like I said, the energy return on your foot strike is great. So first you get that cushion when you're landing, and then you have this slight rocker in the front of the shoe that helps kind of just roll you through your foot strike. And then the softness and the kind of like propulsion of this foam just helps kind of push your foot off. And then the lightweight package of the overall daily trainer just makes it really easy. Like I said, all 12 miles were great. I never had an issue in terms of like discomfort. My legs didn't feel beat up the next day. This shoe is one of those that I believe is a real sleeper in the daily trainer, especially if you're someone like me who may have tried Adidas shoes in the past and they just did not work for you. Honestly, after 5 runs in this shoe, it only seems to be getting better and better. And like I said, with the lightweight package, the soft ride and propulsion that you get with the midsole, and then the outsole being quite durable, I'm pretty sure this will actually go to like 400, maybe 600 miles. I think the outsole will outlast the midsole in terms of like longevity of the shoe, but just overall, it's a great lightweight daily trainer package that, like I said, is gonna make the miles easy. They're gonna tick off really quickly, and you're gonna enjoy the entire run. All right, so with that out of the way, in the next category is who do I believe the SL2 is for? So the SL2 is for anyone who is looking for a lightweight daily trainer with some nice energy return. Like I said, a nice roll through on your foot strike, and you're looking to round out your running shoe rotation, the SL2 would be a great addition to that. Another person I think the SL2 might be great for is someone who's looking for kind of that like 1-2 shoe rotation. You don't really need a shoe for every type of run out there. You just want one shoe that can kind of do it all. Maybe it's not the best at every single category, but it's good enough to get you through every single run in your training. The SL2 would be perfect for that. Like I said, it's great at those slower paces. It feels comfortable and it still provides great energy return, but it also has the ability to pick up the pace and be able to get almost any type of run done. I'm not sure about like the high mileage, how this shoe would feel if I were to do like 20+ miles in the SL2. But pretty much anything under that, I believe the SL2 would be great for someone who's looking to, like I said, just do like maybe a 1 or 2 shoe running shoe rotation. All right, and who may the SL2 not be for? So the SL2 is most likely not gonna be for anyone who has, unfortunately, a wider foot. Because like I said, with that snug upper that I was talking about in the forefoot and the midfoot, it's kind of a narrow shoe altogether. I'm someone who I consider has like a more narrow foot. And honestly, like I said, I've had no issues with the sizing, but it is quite narrow. It did loosen up a little bit, but when I say that, it's not like it graciously loosened up, and if you have a wide foot, you might be able to like make it work. It's pretty narrow, and it's gonna pretty much always stay narrow through the life of the shoe. So if you're someone who has a wider foot, the SL2 may not be for you. Someone else the SL2 may not be for is someone who needs some type of structure or support within your shoe. This is a pretty neutral shoe when it comes to stability. It's got a pretty narrow platform through that midfoot, and even the heel, I would argue, is kind of narrow. And then there's absolutely no structure at all through the medial side in the arch. And the lateral side, there's not even like a little plastic clip or any type of structure through the heel. So there's literally almost no stability at all through the shoe. So if you're someone who's looking for a great daily trainer but also needs some stability with your shoe, I would suggest looking elsewhere, because unfortunately, I don't think the SL2 is gonna be for you. All right, and so we're into the last category of the SL2, which is, would I recommend the SL2 for your running shoe rotation? And the simple answer is a resounding yes. The SL2 is an absolutely amazing daily trainer that I've been enjoying a lot so far. It's one of those shoes that I kind of find myself continuously going to with each of my daily runs to just put on, because I know it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be lightweight, it's gonna be energetic, I'm gonna enjoy my run. And honestly, this shoe also just looks really cool in this black with the like pink yellow gradient and then the large white Adidas stripes. Adidas hit all the marks in terms of making a great successor to the SL1. And honestly, at $130, the SL2 may be one of the best daily trainers currently on the running shoe market.